Thank you to everyone for joining us today. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, iCourts is a community of practice whose goal is to connect people who work in the social and behavioral sciences field of neglected tropical disease. During the session, please feel free to put in any questions or comments that you have in the chat, and we will address them in the discussion portion of the session. Please note that this session will be recorded. I will now pass it over to Rosin McCullen, who will introduce our session.
Thanks so much, Varsa, and thanks so much, everybody, for joining. It's really great to be able to share with you some more today. So I'm here as part of the WHO Skin NTD Operational Working Group subteam. And the subteam have been working together to develop a range of different principles to guide whenever working together with persons affected by skin NTDs as part of operational research. And these have been developed in a collaborative way, and so we're really keen to be able to get your reflections and your feedback, your suggestions for how to improve and update these principles through the session today. Next slide. So just as an overview, excuse me, for what we'd like to talk through today. So we'll start off by introducing the principles themselves. We have 6 principles that have been developed. And we'll have some time for feedback. We had hoped that Rajni Singh from LEPRA, who is a key part of the operational of this operational research working group, would be able to share the principles today. Rajni himself is a physio technician by profession. He holds a master's in international public health from LSTM, and he himself has lived experience. But unfortunately, Rajni will not be able to join us today. So myself and my colleague Shireen Chowdhury from LSTM, we will be sharing the principles in his place. But we just want to thank Rajni and the rest of the sub-team that have worked on developing these principles. Following that, we'll move on and we'll share a couple of different examples of how the principles can be applied in different studies. So Emmanuel Zeze from Liberia will be sharing an example relating to one of the principles, that's Principle 5, which is about creating spaces needed for collaboration. And he'll share some experiences relating to how the network within Liberia, NIPA-NTD, was established. And then we're going to hear more from Suresh, and he will be, he's based with the Leprosy Mission Trust in India, and he'll be sharing examples of how a range of the different principles have been applied through the Inclusive Research Project. After that, we really want to get your feedback on the principles, and so we'll have an open time of discussion and reflection when we look forward to hearing from you. And Ngozi Murphy-Okpala from Rediad is going to guide us through that discussion, as well as sharing another example of principles in practice. So really looking forward to the session today. Again, thank you so much for joining, and I'll move on to the next slide. And so, yeah, so here we are, just as I say, filling in for Rajni, who sadly can't be with us today. But here we want to be able to explore more about how we can move from tokenistic inclusion of persons affected within research to a research culture where persons affected by NTDs are valued and essential contributors towards scientific advancements. Next slide. So just as a little bit of background as to how the principles themselves were developed. As I say, we recognise and understand that persons affected by NTDs are often the subject of research, but often there's been limited consideration for their own capabilities to be actively involved as part of the research process. With regards to this, more recently, there have been increasing calls to redress this power imbalance, and recognition of the need to enhance the participation of persons affected across all stages of the research process. But there has been minimal dialogue with persons affected about how they want to be included in NTD-related operational research and best practices through which to achieve their full and meaningful inclusion. Next slide. So we recognise the inclusion of persons affected is essential to the success of research and is also an ethical imperative, but it needs to be prioritised through careful thought at the earliest stages of any operational research partnership or programme. And so this is really where we hope that the 6 principles will come into place as providing a framework and some guidance around the best ways to engage with persons affected throughout operational research. Next slide. So in terms of how we developed them, they were developed through a series of different discussions and workshops where we engaged with persons affected by a range of different NTDs. This has included cutaneous leishmaniasis, leprosy, and also lymphatic filariasis. We engaged with people across a range of different countries, including Brazil, a number of different countries within Africa, and also Nepal as well. And then coming out of these different discussions that happened, the transcripts were reviewed to be able to identify what the main kind of thematic areas coming out of those were in order to develop the different principles for inclusion. And this is the stage that we are at the moment. The principles have now been identified based on this process, but really we want to, as I say, to get feedback from as wide a range of persons affected themselves in different settings and different locations to be able to identify the different principles, to strengthen those, improve them, ensure that they really do adequately represent the best approaches for engaging with persons affected. Next slide. So at this point, I'd just like to hand over to my colleague Shireen, who's going to talk us through the 6 principles. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosie, and thank you everyone for being here. So I'll just talk through each of the principles that we have developed, and I'll also share this in the chat because we really hope to share these, but as Rosie mentioned, these are a work in progress. And so number 1 is discuss with persons affected their motivations, expectations, and the value of participation. And this really means, developing a shared understanding of what research is, but also what it isn't, and what co-production can look like within this space. Also to critically examine and discuss with people affected what equitable participation looks like to them in their specific context, and also in the specific context of the proposed research. 3, recognize, respect, and value the labor of being involved in operational research for people affected. And also to consider that people affected are not a homogeneous group, and ongoing reflection on power and positionality is really essential to enable safe spaces for sharing and also confidence building. Next slide, please. Principle 2 really focuses on transparency. So to facilitate transparency, manage clear expectations and foster clear, contextually appropriate communication between researchers and persons affected, ensuring all collaborators have a shared understanding of research parameters, roles, and expectations. Next slide, please. And so principle 3 has been developed from findings that really speak about the ethics of participation. So ensure ethical participation that fully considers unintended consequences and safeguarding concerns. So specifically consider the competing demands that many people with lived experience face, and how the intensity of engagement and prolonged engagement with research may impact the management of chronic conditions as well. And to also ensure appropriate and equitable remuneration and resources to fulfill tasks, including for lost economic productivity and also other out-of-pocket expenditure. Next slide, please. Principle 4 really focuses on capacity strengthening, and capacity strengthening that is actually relevant for persons affected. So establishing capacity strengthening systems to enable persons affected to utilize and gain transferable skills through participation in operational research tasks that they can use to advance their own personal aspirations. Next slide, please. And principle 5 is really to create the spaces needed for persons affected to network and collaborate, both formally, for example, to establish a network, which we'll hear a bit more from Emmanuel about, and also informally, perhaps through a WhatsApp platform or whichever platform that is relevant for the groups. Next slide, please. And then create a culture within operational research and the NTD community where the experience and knowledge of persons affected is valued in decision making. Next slide, please. And so this image is really shared by Jem, and it actually is a humorous take on that. It says, "Thank you for the tea, but now where is our payment?" And it often speaks to experiences that many of us may have had during operational research, where, you may invite participants and people with lived experience. And of course, refreshments are a key part of that, but often remuneration and payment isn't always thought about. And it's something that we do really need to think about when we're thinking about the equitable partnership and participation of working with people with lived experience within operational research. And so I know I've gone through kind of a quick stop of those 6 principles. And so I will now just share them also within the chat. Just bear with me, because what we'll do now is facilitate a Mentimeter exercise. And so to do that, if you could please go to the next slide. So these are the co-developed principles on one page here, and we'll go back to that. But I would just like to invite all our participants today, joining today, if you could please click on the link within the chat, or if you can please go into the next slide. There's a QR code that you can use your phone on. So we'll just give you a few minutes to join. And while we do that, I will just also place the principles within the chat, because we can't expect everyone to remember them just from the slides there. So just bear with me while I add them into the chat. And here is where we'd really like you to please give your opinions, your feedback, whether anything resonates with you as well, or whether there's things that could be improved. So please feel free to use the feedback boxes. And if there's anything specifically related to any specific principle, please also highlight that within your comments. And so we'll give some time now for everyone to feedback, and just to have some time to reflect on these. So we'll give about 5 minutes to kind of input to the Mentimeter. I've reshared the link in the chat. If anyone has any issues accessing the link, please let us know in the chat. And then if you could please go back to the previous slide. You can have a look at the principles here too. They're also within the chat as well, just to have them there to reflect on. Also, if you prefer to add any comments in the chat, please feel free to do so now within the chat as well. Thanks so much for everyone's contributions. Just another few minutes now. Okay, great. We have some great responses coming through. So I'll just now share my screen to show some of the findings, well, these countless findings, some of the things have come through. So just bear with me while I share my screen. And so here you can actually see that there have been quite a few key feedback coming through. So thank you all so much. And so one relates to principle 3, which relates to that it may need rephrasing because it's not too clear that it's about remuneration, and especially when we showed that image as well. So thank you very much for that feedback. There's also quite general feedback coming here that the language could be clearer and more accessible. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that's key, and we will feed this back to the group as well. And it's important to have these principles in the NTD community. There's huge challenges nowadays with a lot of ideological political divisions and extremist views. How to deal with that is a huge challenge. And thank you for raising that. I think that is also a very key issue to really consider, especially when we're talking about the values and how we do operational research as well, and the challenges around that currently. Ongoing engagement and monitoring by persons affected of research program implementation is also important, and that's very key as well, because as we said, these principles are kind of ongoing, but to actually evaluate and see if they are, how they're used, how they're operationalized, that's a really important and key part of whether they're relevant, and actually how easy they are to implement or measure as well. And also the key thing about managing expectations. So that really relates to principle 2, avoiding issues later, because, and this is key. And I think we can all maybe relate to this within our research, there may be over expectations which may create issues when unfulfilled. I'm also just going to refer to the chat, as I see Emmanuel has added to the chat. Just bear with me, sorry, while I try and reach the chat. Unfortunately, I can't quite see it as I'm sharing. Rosie, would you be able to read the chat for me?
Thanks.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
there was a couple of reflections there from Emmanuel. The first being about the importance, the inclusion of persons affected in research is important because it will provide good results of your research study. So really just emphasizing the importance and value of that in the quality of our research studies. And then the second point related to the need to support grassroots organizations with capacity building. And I think that probably relates to perhaps principle 5, and supporting those networks among persons affected, and doing that perhaps by engaging with grassroots organizations. So really helpful suggestions there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Emmanuel. And thank you everyone for adding your responses. I think here is another key one about graduates at universities are too focused at biomedical reductionist approaches, and we need to change the focus in education in all levels. And I think that's also a very key point around how we value different types of knowledge as well. So I think that's very important. Thank you so much for raising this. And also it may be critical to pointedly engage, support and encourage in-country partners to lead these activities. So thank you very much much for this. This has been really helpful. And also to say that this Mentimeter will be open, but also the whole purpose of this webinar today and this session today is that we'll also have a question and answer session at the end. So also please feel free as you listen to the different presentations today. If anything else comes to mind, please do feel free to share within the Q&A session and also within the chat. So I'll now pass on to the next speaker. Thank you so much.
Emmanuel, if you'd like to unmute and go ahead, thanks.
Okay, hello to all. So, following on behalf of the network of persons affected of entities in Liberia and the leadership, greetings from the anchor. So we are here to give you the 5 principles that help us to create a space for persons affected to the network and the collaboration, not NIPA entities, for the network of persons affected by entities in Liberia. So I'm Emmanuel Guyans, happens to be the chairperson of the network of persons affected by entities in Liberia. Next. So the network of persons affected by entities, how the need of to establish the entities happened that redress was a participatory action research study in Liberia. We sought to improve person-centered care for persons affected by skin entities, where central to redress co-production approach, wherein within redress, persons affected were engaged as co-researchers, use the participatory creative mentor as a way to engage with research, where part of the community advisory board, the central to intervention design, persons affected was all into that aspect, where redress established a peer support groups across 3 counties in Liberia, Lofa County, Margibi, and that of Grangida in 2 districts per county. So after that research, when redress was carried on, we had decided that we know that projects come and go. So what can we do to maintain the legacy, or what can we do to maintain the love that redress are showing to us, so that persons affected can be prioritized in Liberia, so that at least Liberia persons affected can be recognized globally, or even our national government can recognize us. So these are the dream of establishing the network of persons affected came about. Next slide. So we have 5 key actions, 5 actions taken to redress that help with establishing the network. Plan with engagement of persons affected to build confidence towards advocacy roles. Budget and plan to building knowledge and skills. Introduce clear process of selection of persons affected to leadership roles. Create space and circumstances for collaboration and mutual space between persons affected and all key stakeholders. So that is to say, persons affected through the redress already introduced us to research, wherein, as I said, we were involved with as co-researcher, persons affected, and serving as a peer support lead. So redress were also able to introduce us into a high meeting, where we're able to attend interventions meeting, where we were opportune to meet with high hierarchy profile as persons affected, to meet with ministers and entities directors at the Ministry of Health. Next slide. So the network of persons affected of entities, when the dream came about, so July 4th, 2024, the persons affected with entities have decided to call upon 2 persons per county, that which of course the road of that was given to the entity focused persons per county. Liberia, we have 15 counties, and every county we have 1 representative that is called entity focused person. So they were told to recruit 2 persons per county, so that we could all meet in Ghana to have our organization established. So I go have it, that was successful. We met in Ghana on the 4th of July. where we were represented 2 per county, 30 in numbers, attended the program. So that July 4th, that was the day the NIPA were established in Kanta. Next slide. So during the meeting, we had participatory meeting involving 2 representatives from all 15 counties in the Kanta meeting, wherein we were opportune that everybody could express their opinion, everybody could express what could be good for them, what their leadership could be, what could be the name of the organization. So at that meeting, everything was participatory, involving 2 representatives from across the entire counties, and we all was in Kanta by the next slide. So during the meeting, we jointly developed our visions, our goals, and before then we voted for our leadership. So we voted everything that we decided to get the view of all persons affected that was into that building, so that we could not just decide to say, okay, we want to take XYZ yourself as leader, but instead we democratized the entire thing, wherein everybody was opportune to select whosoever they want, to also to decide whoever they want to lead them. So that was how we decided to vote for our leadership in our structure, and then we select our own slogans, we decide our own motto and our visions, everything we voted upon it. Wherein our slogan say, don't neglect but embrace us, inclusions and empowerment for all persons affected by NTDs. NTDs is not just one. We know NTDs are priorities area, but our network is prioritized in all NTD because we know that all NTD is associated with stigma. So our institution is inclusions and empowerment for all persons affected by NTDs. So our visions, persons affected by NTD to be seen as agents of change in Liberia. Yes, next slide, please. Thank you. So the NIPA leadership that was elected by then, I served as the chairperson for the network of persons of federal entities. Emmanuel Zeze, I come from Lofa County, and we have our co-chairperson Nathaniel Gwe, who comes from Grenjida County, and our secretary James B. Kekula from Pond County. We have our chaplain Cecilia Mencho, come from Sando County. Our treasurer Cecilia Bikos, come from Maryland County. Our technical advisor is Kopo Kamara, come from Pommy County. So our leadership came from different counties. We wanted every county to feel the impact of the leadership so that the representatives of each county could go back and say, okay, I was represented at the Kanta meeting where we were able to give the name of our organization. But now I was chosen as one the advisor or the secretary or the chairpersons. So that's how our leadership was elected upon. Next slide, please. So our progress, we developed a strategy with clear overview of objective and responsibility to be undertaken by NIPA members. Board of directors established and plan to meet very soon. So NIPA and the registration is in progress. Thank you. That's that. So NIPA was represented last year. Just upon the completion of our registration, we were able to represent NIPA at the NN conference through the support of ANESVA and Redress in Malaysia last year, where we were able to meet several persons of federal entities and other NGOs, where we were opportune to address the conference. But then 8 minutes time was given to us, and we were able to get update of our activities in Liberia. Next slide. So the NIPA also was represented at the elimination of LF and onchocerciasis. So the Ministry of Health as well have recognized, or especially the NTD program, have recognized us into their program and also supporting us physically, morally, and also financially to see how we can move ahead. So we have been selected to work on the elimination of the LF and onchocerciasis committee. So we have 2 persons from NIPA that is serving as member of that committee, Emmanuel Jesus, and that of Mr. Harry, we serve as the member of that chair at the Ministry of Health. Next slide. So through the NIPA work, we are able to do a follow-up so that we could learn from our past redress project where they established a peer support group in the 3 counties that I mentioned about. So we were able to do follow-up with the 3 counties that had a peer support group so that we could learn from them how are their activities going about. So we make a follow-up with the redress established peer support group. That's slide. So NIPA, through that, NIPA were able to establish peer support group in 3 new counties. And we had awareness, we have radio awareness, we have marketplace awareness. So this was the first implementation that NIPA got. And this support came from redress. Through the redress project, we were also to have a smooth implementation where we were able to train 20 persons per county in 3 counties in Liberia, Grand Bassa, Sano, and all of Montserrat counties. So we were able to train 60 persons across the 3 counties and did a radio awareness in the counties and also marketplace awareness, wherein we were opportune to have dialect being presented to the counties because, as we may know, our country, we have dialects. People may not understand the English, but at least we have people there that could interpret what we meant in the dialect that they could understand. Thank you. Next slide. So more NIPA activities, we also do radio awareness, and then we establish our peer support group. There's a membership in Montserrat County. There's a peer support group leadership in our counties, especially Montserrat County. So there's a radio awareness that we do in our county, Montserrat, Grand Bassa, and all of Sano County. Next slide. So our upcoming activities, we continue representation nationally, globally via online WhatsApp groups and webinars as this. So we apply for funds for sustainability of the network. So our network is not just in Liberia, but we are connecting globally so that our network can be expressed to the world so that the world can come to our aid, the world can see our needs. So our upcoming activities is nationally and globally and is continental team. Thank you. Next slide. So for the on behalf of the network of NTDs and the leadership and redress, we want to be grateful for this opportunity given to us that we have able to attend this meeting. So on this note, I want to tell redress thanks and thanks to the NIPA leadership for their continued support to our activities, and to the Ministry of Health, the NTD program, Kasokoli, Emerson, Roger. Thank you all so much for this time given to us. It's over.
Thanks so much, Emmanuel. Suresh, just whenever you're ready to start. Thanks so much.
Yeah, hi. Hi, hello, everyone. Shall I start?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you. I'm Suresh Dolge from the Leprosy Mission Trust India. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share about the principles for inclusion and participation of people affected by NTDs. First, I would like to brief about myself. I am Suresh Dolge, working with the Leprosy Mission Trust India from last 24 years. I had leprosy when I was 16-year-old, and I was studying that time in 11th standard. And because of uh, leprosy, I was dropped out from the school, from the college, because there was a stigma faced by me at various stage. After that, I admitted in leprosy hospital. I completed my treatment for 2.5 years. And then I came to the Leprosy Mission Trust India as a student of computer course. I did their computer course and started job there as an office boy. After completing 1 year, I realized that I can do lots of work, but I don't have qualification. So the Leprosy Mission Trust India helped me to restart my education, and I was going college on Saturday only, every Saturday, and the Leprosy Mission Trust India only paid my fees, college fees, to restart my education. I'm very happy and thankful to the Leprosy Mission that today I have done my 8 degrees. I have done my 1 diploma, 2 bachelors, 4 masters, and pursuing PhD in leprosy. After that, I got various opportunities to work on various positions with the Leprosy Mission Trust India, like computer instructor, program manager, placement officer, and also I got many national and international awards. So it was just brief about me. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So you can see here we are 16. Sorry. Please go to that group photo. Just go back. Back. Yes, thank you. So you can see in this group photo, there are 16 people who have lived experience of leprosy. The Leprosy Mission Trust India thought to involve people affected by leprosy for operational research, the research process, and these are 16 people from Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. We all have had leprosy, and we overcome, and now we are working for the rights of people affected by leprosy. So the Leprosy Mission Trust India thought to involve all these people in research, and we are very thankful to Gemma and Caroline. They are supporting us, guiding us for this inclusive research. First training was conducted in Goa, and we came up with that research, which I am going to present about that research. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Just go back. Sorry, yeah. So I'm thankful to my team. They allow me to present about our work about inclusive research, and we all 16 people came up with this topic: government schemes for people affected by leprosy. What are challenges facing by people affected by leprosy to access this scheme? And sorry. And if they access the schemes, how they can access, how their life can improve, the situation can improve economically and socially. So this is our topic of our research. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So sorry, please go to background. Just go back. Sorry for inconvenience. Some technical. Yeah. So we 16 people affected by leprosy came together, and we when we work in the community, we realize that people affected by leprosy are facing various challenges for accessing government schemes and entitlements. And we came up with that question only because there are various problems and various challenges faced by people affected by leprosy about attitude and stigma. So we came up with our main approach is about nothing about us without us, and 16 people who have lived experience of leprosy. We came together with this topic. First training on social action research was given at Goa from 4th to 6th March 25, and Caroline was our resource person. And in that we learn about what is research, how we can conduct interviews, and how we can do observation. So this training was given us by the Leprosy Mission of India at Goa in the month of March. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we 16 people came up with the main research questions talking about what are the challenges to accessing the government schemes, and if we access that schemes, how it does improve our situation, which is economically, mentally, or dignified life. So this is the main question of our research. Next slide, please. So the aim and objective of the study, so we want to know what are the challenges faced by people affected by leprosy for accessing the schemes, and we came up with 3 objectives. So first is to identify the challenges for accessing schemes by people affected by leprosy in the state of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Maharashtra. Second objective is that we want to understand that having access government schemes might improve our life or life situation economically, mentally, and dignified life. Third, the objective is to explore what it means to live a dignified life for someone affected by leprosy from the perspective of those who are affected and also from government officials, those who are involved in the schemes, especially for people affected by leprosy. Next slide, please. So this is our study location. We are doing this research in 3 locations of 3 states of India. One Maharashtra, second Uttar Pradesh, and 3 Bihar. And why we choose these locations? Because the Leprosy Mission Trust India's presence in these states, and we have developed champions. Those who had leprosy, they are cured from leprosy, and now they are developed as a champion, and they are working for other people affected by leprosy. So we selected these 3 locations from India. These are 3 states from India. Next slide, please. So here is the poster we came up with from our research and from our thoughts. And this poster was displayed at NTD skin workshop, which was at Geneva, Switzerland. And this poster was really appreciated by many of our well-wishers and stakeholders. So we came up with this poster. Next slide, please. We will share all these slides to all the participants. Next slide, please. Yeah. So about our research design, so we will do qualitative and comparative research. The method we are using, we are doing in-depth interview, also key informant interviews and participant observation. Duration is very small about our research, so we'll start in the May, because now we are working for ethics approval. So it will start from May 25 and we will complete it in August 25. The sample size will be, we will do interview of 36 people. 30 will be people affected by leprosy, and 6 will be government officials. And we will do 15 participant observation. Sampling method will be purposive sampling, because it's not random, but we will have focus people, because our researcher we will think which person will give proper answer and which person is having more information about our the question. So it will be purposive sampling. Participants will be people affected by leprosy, their family members, village leaders, and of course duty bearers, which are government officials. Inclusion criteria. So we will do the research in 3 states, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Maharashtra, and it will be in 5 to 10 kilometer radiations from the where our researchers are based. Especially these locations are Faizabad, which nowadays we call Ayodhya, Allahabad, Prayagraj, Muzaffarpur, Amravati, Nasik, and Meerut, where our TLMs are working there. People affected by leprosy, those who are diagnosed, or their family members or their friends, and also government officials, and all the respondents will be above age of 16 years. Next slide, please. So how we will do the dissemination of these findings? So first, that there will 3 participants, 3 researchers will go International Leprosy Congress Bali. They will present our finding there, and 2 researchers will go to NNN conference, NGO network for NTD at Kampala, Uganda. I would like to just more details here about this. So these 16 researchers, those who have lived experience of leprosy, they came to Goa first time by flight, and that was the really great experience for them, because the first time they travel by flight. They are first person in their village who travel by flight. So that was the first that experience was very good. Again, our 3 participants will go to Bali, Indonesia, and 2 will go to Kampala, Uganda. Again, this 16 researchers, those who had leprosy, those who were stigmatized in their village. So this will be the first person in their village who will go abroad. So this is the very really motivation for me, like personally, I can say that dissemination of the research finding will do with the academic and some professionals. Also, we will share our uh, observation in international and national conferences. Also, we will share this learning in community which we are going to do research and stakeholders. Participants' feedback also will be shared to them. We will share these findings within our organization in the Leprosy Mission Trust India, and they will share in broader way. And also we will share this to advocacy and practices to replicate to other locations also. So this is our about our research. Next slide, please. And this is my family because this is my wife Mangla. She also had leprosy, and here is our children. We have elder daughters called Spurs. Spurs means touch, which is very rare in leprosy. And the second time we have twins, Swara and Saundarya. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I am out of time, but thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Suraj. Really enjoyed your presentation. And thanks for previous presentation as well. So very quickly, I'm just going to run through a little bit of the experience we had working alongside in the research with persons affected by leprosy. Next slide, please. So I had the privilege of leading a participatory research where alongside with written health intervention materials for an anti-stigma campaign they were going to use in leprosy endemic communities. So on the next slide, what you're seeing here is actually a poster highlighting the effects of our findings, the results from our findings, showing the effects of this participatory co-creation activity on the persons who are affected by leprosy. And we had created, so basically what we did was, as researchers, we co-facilitated them producing this material, exactly the same thing, audio and written content. And on the right, far right corner, what you will see here really is the graph showcasing the timeline of the assessment that we did to see actually objectively measure what was the effect of this process, you know, on their internalized stigma and self-esteem. And if you see the bar on the right, the red one, which is right on top, shows how it drastically reduced. We had the opportunity of doing this at 3 time points: at baseline, in unlike Shire's story, where persons affected by leprosy from the community, no prior research experience, you know, we just wanted them to be clear on this is what we wanted to do, wanted to create health education materials, and that were going to be used by community. So as much as possible, these are going to be materials that should be readable by lay people, and we spotlighted what were the areas we had identified as problem areas, more or less, where people had misconceptions and different myths, and then in their own language, in the way, the message that they was going to communicate the intervention or the message to the community members, produce the content. And for us, this speaks to principle 2, you know, because principle 2 focuses on facilitating transparency and being able to manage expectation and clear communication, you know, fostering clear communication with the researchers and persons affected so we can collaborate meaningfully in research. So I'm really, if you could help me with the next slide, please, because my role here really is just to open the floor up. We've had lots of beautiful presentations from India, from Liberia, And I just would like to open the floor to receive feedback, get a sense of your own experiences, with as a researcher or as a person affected by leprosy, having heard about these principles, seeing the different examples, how they've been applied in different settings. Are there practical examples from your own experience you could share? And possibly, have you had any kind of experience so far in your research work concerning any of these principles? So, or any resources that you found useful that you could share with the rest of us as well. Yeah, so maybe you could actually just unmute and speak up, or maybe show of hands so it doesn't get too rowdy. We're trying to keep the meeting within 1 hour, so. And I'm happy to throw in more questions as well. And of course, more importantly, if you do have questions for other presenters, please feel free to also ask, like, you could just unmute and speak. Because for instance, I'm curious to find out what would your next step be, for instance, if you wanted to apply any of these principles, maybe as a researcher, what would be the next step? What will it look like for you? Oh, thank you. I just spotted the response. It's also great you could also type in if you don't want to speak, or maybe for network issues. Deborah, thank you for your response. So what helps to create an equal and fair relationship between researchers and persons affected? Oh, great question. Great question. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more responses as well. And we have just a few more minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes more for these discussions. So I'm eager to hear your thoughts, eager to hear your feedbacks. I do have more questions actually as well, so I'm here to ask the questions. I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts as well, and as well as any other questions you have, maybe for other presenters, Emmanuel or Suresh. Next slide, please. Oh, great. Thank you so much. I see another comment. What did it look like for you to step into a leadership role? Okay, great question. What did it look like for you to step into a leadership role? Suresh, do you mind? Could you take that question and maybe just share a bit of your experience? Because from your story, you led other persons affected and they did this. Suresh, could you take that question, please? Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
Okay, great. Yeah, someone was asking, what did it look like for you to step into a leadership role? You led a group of other persons affected, and you conducted a full-blown research. You're already talking about big dissemination plans. What did it look like for you to step into a leadership role? That's a question. Will you take that one, please?
Yeah, actually, people affected by leprosy are like because of stigma, they are feeling themselves neglected, and self stigma is increasing. But if they get opportunity, like for example, me, I was also school dropout. I was also school dropout, and I was out of school. But the Leprosy Mission Trust India helped me to rebuild my confidence, and they helped me to restart my education. A little bit into motivation and opportunity people get. Definitely, it will help people affected by leprosy to. Also, there's one more question, and the challenges faced by 16 people researchers. So there was a language barrier also there, but we overcome on that also. And definitely, when we give opportunity, many insights are coming from these people because they have lived experience of leprosy. they face various challenges. So we are hoping good, findings from this research. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suresh. Fantastic answer. Thank you. And I see another question came in from Emmanuel. So what's the level of inclusion of other persons affected with all NTDs? Yeah, because really, as I think Rosalind mentioned at the beginning, we are at the point where we are hoping for more feedback, from more persons. So this is still work in progress. And in terms of degree of participation, like I said, for instance, while I experienced already in Nigeria, this particular research that I just spoke about very briefly, these were people who were affected by leprosy quite all right, but they had no prior research experience. So by way of a useful resource, I'm happy to share about what we used was the 6 SQID framework, which was basically had very clear steps, 6 steps to creating a health intervention. So with that, it was pretty clear. People had clear expectation on what was expected, what to do at each step and all of that. So, yeah, probably frameworks, and other things like that, tools out there that could be really useful. So thanks again for all the feedback and inputs, lots of questions on the chat. Please feel free to ask some more. And someone asked another one, what's some strategies you're using these principles with affected persons? Fantastic comments. I think maybe why we just keep the questions coming up, would also be happy to receive more responses. And since we are really out of time, I'm going to just have to hand this over back to Rasa. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for your contributions and everything. Thank you. Over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful speakers for sharing at our Knowledge Cafe today. If you would like to attend more Knowledge Cafes, please sign up as a member using the link in the chat, which I'll put right now. We will be having our next Knowledge Cafe on June 5th. Please register using the link in the chat. And if you would like to get more involved with I-Cords as a steering committee member, applications are open until May 15th. For more details, I'll put another link in the chat as well. Lastly, please take a moment to take the Zoom poll before you leave. Thank you.